Hello there, and you're very welcome to another episode of the Arkham Avengers Fantasy Football Premier League podcast. You join me, the host, along with Eamon and Hector, where we take a look to see how the managers in this league are getting on in their quest to be crowned the champion for 2021-22. And you're very welcome to another show. We hope you're all well wherever you are in the world, and that you're going to enjoy what we have in store for you. Eamon, as always, a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. It's, I think, there's a real buzz in the air with the football. We're starting to see the game weeks slowly trickle down. We're into the last few now, and of course we have the, Champions League football as well. Liverpool on the hunt for quadruple. What can Chelsea do? And, with teams getting relegated as well, it's an exciting time at the moment. And I have to say that you feel we've arrived at the football now.
And Hector, a very warm welcome to you also. Well, thank you very much. It's very nice to be back here. And you're not hobbling, you're walking properly now. That's right, the ankle is much better now. Thank you very much for that. Well, I'm certainly glad to hear that. And we had one or two people who emailed in and sent their best wishes to you, and some people were saying to rest it up, and other people had potions that you could put on it there to do with oats and some other ingredients of the sort there. I can pass them on to you if you want, but I saw you walking in and you looked fine. Fine, I don't think I need that, but thank you very much for all the interest. All right, okay, right, it's down to business. Game week 34, the review. It's time to have a look and see how the managers get on here. Now, the highest points were 143, and the average was 51. No change, of course. Still at number one, sorry KDB, racked in 91 points. Eamon, do you want to kick us off on the show here and have a chat about the team? Who came in? Who did what?
Yes, 91 points, very good, not too bad at all there. The transfers, there were two transfers and they lost 4 points. Alonso came in and brought 19 points in. Cody went out for 2 points. Azpilicueta went in for 8 and Rudiger went out for 1. So, they're very good transfers in my view there. They captained Mount and he got them 10 points. Maddison got 2 points. Salah had 6. Fernandes had 1 point. Saka had 13 points. Alexander-Arnold chipped in 5. As we said, Alonso had 19. Azpilicueta had the 8 points. Robinson had 15 points there. And their goalkeeper, Pope, had 10 points, and Pukki was there with 2 points. And look, the bench was active. Wood wasn't playing, and Saka came on. So overall, it's a very good week for the Sarri KDB. It's certainly they're powering ahead. Solid defence, and they sorted out the captaincy issue there. And they'll be very pleased with that. That's what they need now. They're on the final road. I suppose you could say they can see the finishing line is there now at the moment, and it's a matter of just clocking in the points. And they're 1 week on the rise also. Well, that goes without saying, of course. Okay, so no change either then at second place. Tollbuggers 6, 51 points. Hector, they had 2 transfers also. That's right, and they lost the 4 points. And they brought in Shah from Newcastle. Now, they did not get any point. And Doherty went out, he is injured. They brought the Mount in, he got the 5 points. And Rafinha was put out, he only got 3 points. They also decided to captain the Mount, he got them 10 points. Salah had the 6 points. Saka had 13 points. Kulusevski had the 3 points. Weghorst had 5. Kane was there also with 2 points. And then Alexander-Arnold had the 5 points. Livramento had 1 point. Cancelo had 1 point. Gabriel had 2 points, and their goalkeeper, Will Ramsdale, had 3 points. And then they brought Shah in with play, and he went off, and Livramento came in. They're probably, a little lightweight at the back, I think. I don't think they got the returns from the transfers that they wanted. And, probably maybe not as happy to have got, they got the average 51 points. They probably will hope you get the 20 more points there, hit 70 plus points. And, look, I think at the moment, there's no change there, all even with it there. And they're 1 week on the drop at the moment. Now, in third place, no change either, Legion 11. And they had 47 points, and they had 3 transfers. Eamon, we have a chat about this. They lost 8 points as a result of these transfers. They brought Anderson in. Now, he did get them 5 points, and he put out White, who got a paltry 2 points. And Memeo came in and he got 3 points. They put Saka out for the 13. Reguilon was brought in and didn't get any points. And Rudiger was put out for 1 point. And they decided to stick with Tony as the captain and got 4 points. Mope had 2 points. Memeo had the 3 points. Salah 6. Rafinha had 3 points. Bowen had 1. Ward-Prowse was there with 15 points. Alexander-Arnold had 5 points. Cancelo had 1 point. Anderson, as we said, had the 5 points. Their goalkeeper was Sanchez. They got 2 points there. And like on the bench, Reguilon went off, Memo came on, and Wood went off, and Moppy came on there. And look, the 2 transfers really didn't work out. So I don't think they're quite sure about their captaincy choice. They're sticking with Tony for some reason. I wouldn't have stuck with him now, I'd have to say. And at this time, where we are in the season, they need to keep their eye on the ball here.
Now, they're 3 weeks on the drop now at the moment.
Yeah, and that would be a concern. I think if they're trying to plug and hold this position, they need to be more conscientious of who their captain is and their transfers.
And in fourth place, of course, no change. It's Arkham Avengers. Now, they got 42 points. They also had 3 transfers. Hector, what do we make of this? Well, they also lost 8 points, the same as the Legion 11. And now they brought Sally in, he got the 6 points, and they put the Saka out with the 13. They brought Harrison in, he got 3 points, and Madison was put out with 2 points, and Mount was brought in for 5 points, and Fernandez was put out with the 2 points. And like, other managers, like Sari, KDB and Toberg 6, they decided to captain Mount and they got 10 points. Salah was there with the 6 points. Rafinha had the 3 points. Harrison was there with 3 points. Gordon had 1 point. Kane had 2 points. Weghorst had the 5 point. And then Cody had 2 points. Cancelo had 1 point. Rudiger got 1 point. Their goalkeeper was Schmeichel and he got them the 8 points, which is very good. They active bench also. Because Shah came off and Cody went on and Ward came off and Gordon went on. I don't think the transfers work all that well. I think that, they'd be disappointed. They probably want to at least hit the average points. It's not good. And maybe, this is it for Arkham. Who knows?
Yeah, you wanted to add something there, did you? Yeah, I have to say one thing here. They got rid of the donkey, which was a good thing. That's a plus. Yes, the transfers didn't work out. It's unfortunate Salah got 6 and they put Saka out there. But I think they were trying to rejig for players and get the donkey out. He shouldn't have been brought in the first place there. Look, it's another week below average there, and I think the Swooper has pretty much shot themselves in the foot. For this season, they probably might hold the 4th place if they don't do anything outrageous.
And they're 4 weeks on the drop as well there presently. 5th place, of course, is Raglan Road, 43 points, and they had 1 transfer, Eamon.
And they brought Rudiger in for 1 point, and Doherty went out, he's injured. Now they decided to go for Salah as the captain and got 12 points. Willock was there with 3 points, Saka had the 13, Zaha had 3 points. Bernardo didn't play, Woods didn't play. Rodriguez got 2 points and Alexander-Arnold got 5. As we said, Rudiger picked up paltry 1 point and Cancelo wasn't any better there with 1 point. And their goalkeeper, Shah, got 3 points there. Now, again, they had activity on the bench. Shah came off, Zaha went on. And that's where it ends. They didn't have enough players. They had nobody to cover Bernardo and they had nobody to cover Wood. They need to keep an eye on the bench. This is schoolboy error tactics. They need to have a bench that's going to work with them. You may not need to have, the big Arsenal players or Everton players. Maybe you want to have a few players from Watford, Wolves, Brentford, somebody like that. But somebody at least that's going to be playing. Maybe they get 2 points match, but look, 2 points would be better than no points there. So it's less disappointing there for them. But they're still in 5th. They're still holding on.
And they're 1 week on the drop at the moment there. Now, Lafayette Lions are in 6th place and they had 48 points, Hector. Now, they had 1 transfer. Yes, I see they brought the Davies in and they got the 6 points. White went down for 2 points. Keane was brought in for to be captain this time. He got the 4 points. And then, Weghorst got the 5 points. Rafinha has the 3 points. Ward-Prowse had 15 points. Salah has 6 points. Bowen had just the 1 point. Madison only had 2 points. Rudiger just had the 1 point. Now Davies did have the 6 points, as we said. Gabriel had 2 points. And Ramsdale had 3 points. Then he had no need for any transfers or anything like that. I think it was a good transfer. Kane had let them down badly. And they may need to think about who they want to be the captain there. They're 5 weeks on a drop at the moment. 7th place then, of course, ain't got a clue. 54 points, Eamon. 1 transfer.
And they're surprised to see this. Cancelo was brought in for 1 point and Rudiger was put out for 1 point. So it's a pretty much cancelled out transfer. Didn't pay off. Salah was there for 12 points as the captain. Fornals had 2 points. Douglas Luiz picked up 2 points as well, and they had Saka for 13 points. The forwards are pretty dismal. Ayew got 2 points and Tony has 2 points. I mean, I think he'd be better with 2 pensioners up front than those lads at the moment. Alexander-Arnold got 5 points and Van Dijk got 7. As he said, Cancelo picked up a whopping 1 point. Cody was there with 2 points, but Lloris was in goals and didn't do too bad, got 6 points for him there. Bernardo didn't play and the boyo Ayew came on there. Didn't really do much, as I said. The transfers, as I said, didn't work out. They're picking up points though. They're not doing too much there. They're 2 weeks on the rise though at the moment. Let's hope that they don't make 3 weeks on the rise, but we'll see what happens there.
8th place then is Mighty Defenders with 38 points. And Hector, they had 1 transfer. I noticed, they brought in the Harrison. He got in 3 points. And they put Brownhill out, he got 3 points as well. They decided to have Son as captain. 6 points. Fornals was there with 2 points. Smith Rowe was there with 2 points also. As we said, Harrison had the 3 points. Fabinho had the 3 points. Kane had 2. Cancelo 1. Dawson had a minus 1 point, which was very poor, a letdown. Alexander-Arnold had the 5 points. Janssen had 5 points. And they had their goalkeeper, Pope. They got 10 points there. Their bench was moving. They had Amarte off the pitch and Fabinho came on, Ward came off and Janssen went on. Look, the transfer, as Eamon would say, cancelled itself out there. I think there's a lot of underachieving players on this team. It's disappointing to see that. You'd expect Kane, Fabinho, Cancelo, the Dawson should be doing better than that. Smith Rowe, Fornals, even Son. You expect better than that. So not good week, but you can't do nothing. Your player is not going to perform for you. Then you shrug your shoulder and say, "Oh look, I can do no more than that. Now I big team and that's it." 9th place then is Blightsome squad, 52 points, aim at 1 transfer.
Yeah, they opted for this guy Rudiger as well. He seems to be very popular with a lot of the guys here. I'm not quite sure why. I wouldn't be sold on this guy. He picked up 1 point and Amarte was shipped out. He didn't get any points. Son was the captain for 6 points. Now they had Ward-Prowse there with 15 points. Brownell had 3. Sancho had 2 points. Weghorst had 5. Adams had 2 points. Alexander-Arnold had 5 points as well. Kraft from Newcastle had 6 points. Cancelo the 1, and as we said, Rudiger was there with just that 1 point. They had Lloris as well as their captains. They got 6 points there. Look, on the bench, unfortunately, they had Saka sitting there. He wasn't sitting in the right position, and the 13 points went to missing. It's very important here, managers, even at this late stage, when you're setting up your bench, that you have the players in the right positions to try and maximise getting a guy off that bench. Look, they followed up with a pretty, average sort of result. It's not a bad game week for them, but it's not helping them to get out at 9th. And that's what they need. Now, they need to do something. They need a result.
10th place then is Can We Win Again? 49 points. Now, Hector, no transfer with this manager. That's right, he'd be very quiet. And he had Captain Van Dijk, who picked up 14 points. Corey had 2 points. Laporte had 2 points. Delors had 3 points. Kulusevski had the 3 points. Gallagher had 3 points. Saka had the 13 points. Madison had 2 points. Adams had 2 points. Kane had the 2 points. And they had Ramsdale for 3 points. And then their bench was active. Shah came off. Adams went on. Bernardo came off. Gallagher went on. Wood came off. And Cody went on. Apart from that, probably the only thing you hear, they're being consistent. They're remaining where they are. They're not going down the table, which is good. They're not going up the table, which is disappointing for them. That's how the cookie crumble for this manager this season. And they're 4 weeks on the drop. Did I mention Blightsome or 2 weeks on the rise, actually?
Okay, you didn't mention that. Interesting. Nice if you had mentioned that before we shut me away.
I'm sorry about that, Eamon.
Okay, well, look, everybody can make a mistake, even yourself.
11th place then is Maximum Effort with 53 points and no transfer. Eamon.
Well, I think we're coming into the area of the no transfer zone here. They had Kane as their captain and got 4 points. Origi got 5 points. Son had the 3. Saka got 13. Bowen picked up 1. Bruno Guimaraes got 9 points. Rudiger again is here with 1 point. Alexander-Arnold 5 points. Cancelo 1 point. Ealing got 8 points. And the goalkeeper, Sa, got 3 points. Now on the bench, Antonio went out and Origi came in. It's a decent result. It's a pity they still could be pulling in the chips and using them. For whatever reason, they seem to be adverse to that. They'll be pleased with this. Look, it keeps them there. No more than what Hector was saying. They're not going down the table. They're not rising up the table either. Perhaps maybe they might surprise us yet. Now they're 1 week on the rise. Now 12th place again in non-mover is Bamford Rejects, 52 points. No transfers. And they had Salah as the captain and he got them the 12 points. Son had 3, Ravina had 3, Saka had the 13. Dennis had 5 points. St. Maximin had 4 points. Broja had 1. James had 2 points and Cancelo had 1 point. Alexander-Arnold was there and he got the 5 points. They had Ramsdale as their captain for 3 points. It's another good result. It's not a manager doing much, not being very active, not being very hands-on. They will be taking this and saying to themselves, happy day. I have, just over average point, And they're 3 weeks on the rise there. For 13th place, of course, no changes. Rosie Rovers, 27 points, Eamon. Again, no transfer here. No, that's not a surprise. They had the Donkey Fernandez as the captain, 2 points. Kante got 5, Mount got 5, Buendia had 1 point. Madison came in with the 2 points. Iniachi was there with no points. Cavani had no points. Cash had 6 points. Gabriel had 2 points. Cresswell had 2 points. And their goalkeeper, Edison, had 2 points. And they, like so many other managers, they had activity off the bench. Chilwell came off. Gabriel went on, Shaw came off, Cash went on, and Bamford, of course, is not playing. He went off, and Mount came on there. It's a case of reap what you sow here. They're doing nothing with the team, and the team are not really going to be pulling in many points whatsoever there. And the main surprising thing is that they're still in 13th place. And they're 3 weeks on the drop there, just out of interest. 14th place is a non-mover also. El Loco John, 43 points. Hector, no transfer either. For this manager, they have the captain, who is Lukaku, who pick up 4 points. Watkins got 2 points. McGinn had 3. Madison had 2 points. De Bruyne had the 9 points. They had Rafinha with 3 points. Hojbjerg had 3 points. White with the 2 points. Kofel had 2 points. And Diaz had 2 points. They had Mesler as their goalkeeper. And they got 11 points for that there. And, for the bench, Tierney went off and White came on. Stones went off and Hojbjerg went on and Bamford, of course, no play in what games came on. At least they have your benches working there, so it is. Well, apart from that, yeah, not much else going on here. Again, it's like some of the rest of the teams, they're coasting at the moment. They're like adrift, they're not doing anything. They're 2 weeks on the drop there. And finally in 15th place. What a beauty, 99 with 19 points, Eamon. Yes, well, I'm sure this is the highlight of their week. No transfers, and they had Captain Bernardo, who didn't play. Fernandez picked up a whopping 1 point. Gallagher got 3 points. Smith-Rowe got 2 points. Bissouma didn't get any points. They didn't play. Dennis had 5 points. Antonio got absolutely nothing either. Didn't play. Cancelo had the 1 point. Rudiger had 1 point. Duffy didn't have any points. He didn't play. The vice captain was the goalkeeper, Ramsdale, who managed to get 6 points. And with all those players who weren't playing, there wasn't any substitutes to come in for them there. If this manager is still with us, and it's debatable, they could be gone off to Holiday Land, maybe Costa del Sol, Fuerteventura, or some other place there. But they'd be glad to see the end of this season. And look, it could be a case that they have realised, look, their season is finished. There's no point even trying to do anything about this. It's just, it's sad to see a manager who has experience to be sitting down here at this end. It's like relegation side. And there are 8 weeks on the drop there now, Eamon, with that. Well, look, I'm not surprised in the least with that there. Well, that's game week 34. Now, we're also going to take a look at game week 35. As you said, listeners, this is a packed episode here. So game week 35, lads, the highest points were 129. The average points came in at 44. And again, we'll have a look here at the table to see how our managers. There's a good bit of movement here this week, isn't there? Yes, there is a good bit of movement here. This is an intriguing and interesting game week, I think. In some ways, I feel this could be the start of the defining game week for our managers, where the position that they finish in and what they've got up their sleeve, so to say.
Okay, which we'll start off there. Again, no change at number one. It's sorry, KDB. No shifting this guy from first place, is there, lads? No, he, like, what do you say? Like, tick stuck in animal, no gun. I'm sorry, what? I say you can't on it, baby. Sorry, I don't, is that a way? Why isn't he not saying? Okay, listen, like, let's backtrack here. There's no budging this guy from first place. He is on a roll, and fair play to him. I have to put it out there. Look, he hasn't won. Nobody's going to catch him.
Certainly, there's no form from anybody to catch him, but, you don't know what could happen.
Are you serious, Eamon?
Well, can we have a look at how his game week went, and then we look at Toebuggers, and then we might just expand on the hypothesis that I have here, a theory that I have.
Okay. Well, sorry, KDB got 21 points. They had one transfer. Eamon, do you want to talk about this team, so?
And he brought De Bruyne in, and in fact then De Bruyne didn't play and put Fernandes out. And funnily enough, this is the irony of the football universe. The donkey got 8 points, and the vice captain was Salah, who didn't start the full match and only picked up 2 points. Now, Mount managed 1 point, Saka got 4 points, Broja got 1 point, Wood managed 1 point, Pukki had 2 points, Alonso had 1 point, Aspilicueta had 1 point. Robertson at least got 6 points. And the goalkeeper, Foster, got 2 points. On the bench, Alexander-Arnold wasn't playing either, so they went off. Broja came on. And Maddison wasn't played. And Wood came on. And I think that this manager will have been scratching his head thinking, what the dickens has gone on here? It's the lowest game week points this manager has got all season, if I'm corrected. I don't think anybody of us saw this coming. To get, this guy, apart from 1 or 2 little blips, hasn't ever been featuring with this. This is an unknown territory. It's uncharted for this manager. It's food for thought. Like, you bring in De Bruyne and you think he's going to play and he's not played. Where does that leave you for your last few game weeks? This is something that this manager is going to have to think about.
And then Toebuggers 6 is in second place, 44 points. Hector, but they didn't have any transfer now. They also had Salah as a captain and they got 2 points. They had Saka, who had 4 points. Mount had 1 point. Now they had Kulusevski, who got 8 points. Weghorst had 1 point. They have Kane, they get 6 points. Dennis had 2 points. They had the player Gabriel, and they got 11 points. Cancelo had 5, Shar had 2, and their goalkeeper was Ramsdale, 2 points for the goalkeeper. And again on the bench, Alexander, he no play, Shar go on. And, I think they'll be probably very happy with this. He consolidates them in second place. They're safe. No one going to take that from them there. And, they got the average points. They got more points than Sarri KDP. It's thumbs up. It's a plus. Hey, man, you're looking to get something in here, are you?
Look, I think now this is why we have to look at this here. If we can digress just for a moment. Presently, according to my calculations, as Game Week 35 is ended, Toebuggers is 221 points behind Sarri KDB. It's a big ask. It's a big reach, especially when you factor in that they have similar players on their teams. And this is again at the end of game week 35. This could all change when they're going into the next game week. Sarri KDB has Saka, Toebuggers had Saka. Sarri KDB has Mount, Toebuggers had Mount, and both of them again have Salah and Alexander-Arnold. That means that there are 7 different players potentially available to Toebuggers 6 that could be completely different from the Sarri KDB. And when we take into account that game week 36 is going to be a whopping packed game week because there's 32 teams playing here, Toebuggers. Now, as I said, this is a very big ask.
Yeah, I mean, we're listening here. Yeah, I mean, listening. I wonder where you're going, but I'm listening.
Let's stick with me on this one. Stick with me here now. This is showbiz, baby. I think that when you look at those factors, that there are different players that can be selected, that Toebuggers could decide that he's going to potentially select power players from other teams if he hones in and looks at assists, influence, creativity and form. He could actually have a really, really good game week 36, and that could eat into that 221 points. I'm talking about he needs to be getting, I'm going to put this out there, he needs to be getting at least 180 points, 190 points.
Okay. What about Sarri KDB then?
Sarri KDB took a gamble on De Bruyne, and Pep might start to change things around slightly. I don't think they're going to maybe do it in game week 36. But we don't know.
That could also work for toe boggers, that the players that you do, these power players that he selects, like, or even the like of the Salah or the Alexander Arnold, mightn't be played. They might be rested.
It could be, but I think that in this game week here, Liverpool are going to push. They've nothing to lose and everything to gain, and they won't want to be seen to be taking the step back from all of this here. The question here is now, yes, Tobogger's got 44 points. Sarri KDB got 21. A disastrous week really for Sarri KDB, but it's not what they're doing. I mean, the players didn't play, but the players they did play, didn't perform. Like Mount has 1 point, Broja 1, Woods 1, Alonso, Asfaketa 1. Those ones, if he has one of these, game week 36, if he has those players performing like that, like he's going to struggle. Whereas if Toboggers has selected good players, maybe do something with Mount, do something with Schär. Maybe look at the goalkeeper again. Weghorst only has the one match, so do we get rid of him there? Have a look at that. There's potential. And I'm saying if he got 180 or 190 points, okay, Sarri KTB is going to get potentially, he'd be expecting at the very minimum to get 70 points. But you still then have 2 other game weeks where, the momentum would be with Toboggers. Now, I know we're looking and we're saying, look, they haven't won. Sarri KTB hasn't won. I think we have to wait until game week 36 is out before you can put the icing on the cake there.
So basically, Eamon, what you're saying, I see Hector is scratching his head here, he's wondering, you're basically saying that Toboggers could select all these power players, whoever they are.
Well, he'll have to identify them, as I said, from the assists, players who have assists, influence, creativity, and form. They are the players at this point now. You don't want to be looking at the guys who have the most points. You need to be looking at these guys.
Okay. And have you any of these names for any of these players?
Well, no, I haven't got them. Look, he's going to have to look at this himself. I'm not going to hand this on a plate to Toboggers because, everybody then will be going for them. But I'm saying that, if they decided to leave those 4 players that they both have there, and if Toboggers, then this guy decides to get in 7 different players who would be, bringing in a very good result, then they could do something here. Something could change here. I couldn't tell you this for a start that he's going to get 220 points. Like if you get 220 points, Sarri is going to be, they'll still need 60 or 70 points. And with 2 game weeks there, you're pushing it. It is a push, but look, the maths are still out, but it depends on the players.
All right, Eamon. Well, sure, we'll look forward to see what happens so in game week 36 and sure, at this point you're going to say like a Toboggers is going to get nearly 200 points.
Well, it depends on who they bring in and depends on how they perform.
That's a lot of depending, Eamon, so it is. I don't know, Eamon. I think it's a bit out there, so it is.
Yeah, I did say it was out there. I said it is a little bit of a reach, but we have to go with this. This could make it interesting. Maybe Toboggers is listening and saying, hey, look, Eamon's behind me. I might do something.
Oh, I'm sure he'll do something all right with you behind him. Okay, and we're going to move on up to 3rd place. I'll go back to you on this one here, Eamon. Arkham Avengers with 38 points.
Yes, the spoofers back up. This is a surprise. Even more so, they had 5 transfers and they lost 16 points. They brought Alonso in, who got 1 point. Rudiger was put out for 1 point. Robinson was brought in for 6 points. Schär was put out for 2. Rodrigo was brought in for 9 points and Rafinha was put out for 2. Kanté was brought on but didn't play. Harrison was put out for 2. And Dennis came on for 2 points and Wood went out for 1 point. So they lost 16 points and they made, my maths are here, they made 15 points from the players they brought in and they had 8 points from the players they put out. My view, this transfer activity, it just isn't adding up. Alonso and Rudiger, doesn't work out there. Kanté and Harrison would have been better off left alone, and like Dennis and Wood was another one there. So there's 3 transfers there. I think I would have just left them be. Bringing in Rodrigo was a good move, 9 points, very good, and like Robinson shored up that defence. There's 2 good moves there, I'd have to say. They opted for Saladin as the captain and got 2 points. Mount is there with 1, as we say. Rodrigo has 9 points. Gordon has 3. Kane had 6 points. Weghorst had 1. Dennis the 2 points. Alonso 1. Cancelo had 5 points. We said Robinson had 6 points, and Schmeichel was in goals for 2 points. And because Canty didn't play, Gordon came on there. And look, it's got this spoofer up to third place. I think probably the only thing that maybe this activity might help them is that they have players who will be playing in Gameweek 36. So, they've lost points this week in order to try and make up the difference. It's a little bit mad, I have to say. It's a bit out there. I wouldn't be advocating this. You do this maybe, I don't know, maybe late January or February or something like that, but you wouldn't be doing it here with just the couple of game weeks left over. It's a bit, so then this is the spoofer. Hector, back me up on this.
Well, I think that easy a lot of points to lose. I certainly would not be saying that, and I agree with Eamon. Some of the transfers did not get the points that they need. However, this losing of the points and the change in the players has meant they're up to third place. Something happened. Something worked for him. In this strange, mixed up, crazy world, the spoofer, as you say, he pulled some out of a bag like a rabbit, and now he's up to third. When he's up to third, well, of course, we'll talk here to fourth place, which is Legion 11, and they've gone down. They didn't really have a great week here either. They've got 25 points. And again, they had 5 transfers. Hector, they lost his 16 points as well. I scratch head, this is like they're both going toe-to-toe at the moment. They decided to bring Davies in for 1 point. Reglan was put out because they're injured. They brought Johnny in and they got no point, and Anderson was put out for 2 points. No sense there. De Bruyne was brought in and they didn't play. And Bowen was put out for 6 points. Pookie will come in for the 2 points and Moppe will put out. And Nikitia come in for Arsenal player. Yeah, he 1 point and Wood put out for 1 point. The players that they put out only brought him in 4 points, and the players they brought in, I say, got only 4 points, and the players that they put out got 9 points. It is like, a loco craze, so I don't know what this is. They decided to stick with Tony, 4 points. Nketiah is there with the 1 point. Pookie 2, Salah 1, Memeo had the 2 points, Ravina had the 2 points, Ward-Prowse had the 5 point. Johnny don't do nothing, no point. Cancelo got 5, Davies had the 1, and their goalkeeper, Schmeichel. And like their bench, Alexander-Arnold, he come off, Johnny go on, and De Bruyne come off and Pookie go on. I think the bad thing I can say here is I think the transfers were a disaster. I don't know what happened here. To me, this team looked like they're all over the place. There's no style or no structure to this here.
Eamon, have you anything to add to that there? Well, look, I think the pressure is getting to this manager. They're going toe-to-toe with the spoofer. They don't need to go toe-to-toe. They didn't need to go toe-to-toe with the spoofer whatsoever. They're getting lulled into some sense of, we're better than them, or we can do better, and instead they're doing more harm than doing good. So I think they'll reflect on this week, and they'll be hoping that they have a better week next week. So movement also, yet again, 5th place is Lafayette Lions, and they got 44 points. Eamon, no transfers though. No transfers. They had Kane as the captain for 12 points. Vegas got 1 point. St. Maximin got 2. Ward-Prowse got 5. Salah was there with 1 point. Rafinha was there with 2 points. Bowen was there with 6. Davies had 1 point. Rudiger had 1 point. Gabriel had 11 points, which is good. And Ramsdale, the goalkeeper, had 2 points. Madison didn't play, so St. Maximin came on there. And look, the team done what it had to do. It performed. And that's all you can ask here. They got the average points. They probably would have liked a few more points, but at least they got the average, which is important. They're 11 points behind Legion here, so they are. So there's a bit of a fight going on here between these two here. No more than Legion trying to take on the spoofer there. And then down to 6th then is Raglan Road. Hector, 22 points, 1 transfer. They brought Band in and, he didn't play, no point. And they put Saka out, he got 4 points. Captain was Salah for 2 points. Bernardo had 1. Zaha had 6 points though. Willock got 2 points. Wood then had 1 point. Lacazette, no point. Schär had 2 points. Rudiger 1. Amarte, no point. Cancelo, 5 points. And their goalkeeper, Pope, he only got the 2 points. On their bench, Alexander-Arnold went off. Willock came on. Barnes went off. Schär came on. Rodriguez went off and Wood came on. Look, he was a poor transfer, didn't work out. I don't know why they're going for that guy. Not a great haul of results, and I might agree with me. I think they're running out of ideas. Yes, I would agree with you. I think they have run out of ideas. It's unfortunate. They've had a good season and they just seem to have gone down into a cul-de-sac and they're not coming out of it at the moment. Up then to 7th place, of course, the Mighty Defenders, 65 points. Hector, they played a bench boost this week, and the transfers, they had 1.
Alonso came in, got 1 point, and Dawson without the no point. They decided to give the son as a captain, and they got the 38 points. Fornells had 2 points. Smith Rowe had 1. Harrison had 2 points. Fabinho had 1 point. Kane this time he has 6 points. Wood have 1 point. Cancelo have 5 points. Alonso 1. Amorte no point, and their goalkeeper Pope with the 2 points. So Alexander Arnold came off and Fabinho went on for them. You know, it was a good result, I suppose. It's timely, you know. But question here, have they gone too soon with the bench boost? I think perhaps they could have waited till this week coming to go for it. It is an interesting option that there, but look, they can't turn back on that now. He placed in his Blighton squad, 53 points, Eamon.
Yeah, they had 3 transfers and they lost 8 points on this. At least it's not as bad as those other 2, losing minus 16. They decided to bring Salah in, so they only got the 1 point there. And Sancho went out, he's injured. Dennis came in for 2 points and Lacazette went out. And Davies brought in 1 point. Rudiger, they got rid of that guy for 1 point. Salah was the captain for 2 points. Saka was there with 4. Son had 19 points. Ward-Prowse had 5. Brownhill had 10 points. Dennis 2. Weghorst had 1 point. Cancelo 5. Davies 1, Anderson 2 points, and their Pope was the goalkeeper for 2 points. Alexander Arnold came off and they got the 10 points from Brownhill, which is a good subs bench. It's set up nicely there. I think they'll be disappointed the transfers turn from that. However, they've got rid of some of the dead wood, and I think they needed to do this. They're in the final pushes here to try and get, you know, realistically, try and get up to 7th place here.
Okay. And down to 9th then, as ain't got a clue, 27 points. Hector, bit of a fall for grace here. No transfers. They had Captain Salah 2 points, Fornells had 2 points, Bernardo had 1, Saka 4, Douglas Luiz 1, Tony had 2 points, Ayew had the 2 points, Van Dijk though had 6 points, and Cancelo had 5, Cody no point, and Laurie is the goalkeeper 2 points. Alexander Arnold, he no play, he came off, and Ayew went on there, and not a good week, you know. When you think about this manager, these players that, you know, they were up at 7th and now they dropped down to 9th. You don't want to be going down there like this. At this rate, they could be down in 10th. A bit of luck they've got down to 10th. Pity they get down to 11th, but I don't think we'll get them down there that far. But look, I'm not surprised that they're down to 9th. They haven't done enough all season to warrant that they would be up at 7th and finishing ahead of Blightsome mighty defenders. You know, can we win again? He's going to have to pull their socks up now and deal with it ain't got a clue. And speaking of can we win again, it's 73 points. Now, they also played their bench boost, Eamon. And they had 2 transfers. They brought Brownhill in for 10 points and put Saka out for 4. Jesus came in for 8 points and Wood went out for 1. And they also captained Jesus. And that's 16. Sorry, is it Jesus or Jesus?
Well, I suppose you could call him Jesus if you want, or Jay. I don't care. Like, it's all the same to me. I just call him Jesus.
I think Jesus might probably be better for him, is it?
Look, I'm talking about the team, so like I call him what I want.
Okay, yeah.
Now, where was I? Yes, okay. King got 6 points. Adams at 2. Kulsveski got 8 points. Bernardo had the 1, as we said. Brownhill at 10 points. The lot pulled in 6 points. Surprise, surprise. Laporte had 6 points. Shar had 2. Van Dijk had 6. And the goalkeeper was Ramsdale, and they had 2 points. Madison came off. He wasn't playing, and Adams went down there. Very good transfers. These are the best transfers I've seen in a long time there. Very good captain selection, I should say. And this manager could have been doing with this a couple of months ago instead of faffing about as they were.
So 11th place then, no change here now is maximum effort, 55 points. Hector, no transfer. Yeah, Kane is the captain for 12 points, Antonio 1, Son 19, Bruno Cameri's got the 2 points, Saka had 4, Bowen 6, Gilmore 2, Ealing had no point, Cancelo had 5, Rudiger had 1, and the goalkeeper Sahi had 3 points. And again, Alexander Arnold went off and Gilmore came on. Another decent result, but again, another week, no chips being played, How many times we say this? He not going to play no chip? No, nothing. I think that he out there laughing, saying, they talk about chips. I do nothing but the chips there.
Well, he's not doing anything with the chips, but look, it keeps him at 11th.
No change either then at 12th is Bamford Rejects. They got 41 points, Eamon.
No transfers again. Welcome to the no transfers zone. They had Salah as the captain, got 2 points. Son was there with 19. Rafinha had the 2 points. Saka 4. Dennis 2, St. Maximin had 2, Broja 1, James had 2, Cancelo had 5 points. Amarte had nothing. And they had Ramsdale as well as the captain for 2 points. And yet again, Alexander-Arnold went off and Amarte came on. Look, it is what it is. This is Bamford not doing anything, scuttling around there. They got 41 points. Look, they'll be happy with that there. 13 places, no change either. Rosie Rovers, 53 points, Hector.
That's right, 53 points. They had no transfers and they had the captain Fernandez, 16 points. One they had the 4, Mount 1. Now Kanté he no play. Cavani had the 1. Iniesta Jojo had 8 points. Bamford he no play. Gabriel had 11 points. Cresswell no point. Cash had the 6. And they had Ederson as a goalkeeper. And they get 6 points for that guy. They have bench movement. Chilwell came off. Gabriel on. Shaw off. Cash on. And Madison off. Mount on. They do well with the subs bench. We have to give them that. They're not doing much else, but that was it. And look, it's a nice result for them. 53 points. I'm sure there'll be other managers. They're thinking, why I know I think I'll get the 53 points. And, thumbs up, fair play to them there. Yeah, look, the donkey had them out as well. So give credit to the donkey where it's due. 14th place then is no change on our El Loco John with 32 points. Eamon, no transfers here either. Did you really think that was going to be a transfer? Well, you never know. Like from week to week, some of the managers might come back. Look, they might come back, but are they going to do anything is the question. They had Lukaku as the captain. It didn't get any points. Bamford is there injured. Watkins got 9 points. McGinn got 3 points. Madison had no points. Rafinha had the 2 points. Hojberg had 2 points. Diaz did get 12 points. Kofel 4. Stones is injured. And their goalkeeper, Mesler, didn't get any points. Their bench had activity. Tierney came off. Hojberg went on. De Bruyne came off and Watkins came on. Look, as usual, this is a manager who's not putting anything in and they're not getting anything out. And they shouldn't be surprised in the least. And finally, in 15th place, what a beauty, 99. Hector, 35 points. Was there a transfer? No transfer here either. They had Captain Bernardo, who got 2 points. Fernandez had 8. Gallagher had 2. Smith-Rowe had 1. Bissouma had 11 points though. Dennis had 2. Antonio had 1. Cancelo 5. Rudiger 1. Amarte no point. And they have Ramsdale as captain for 2 points. Like Duffy came off the bench and Amarte went on, and that's pretty much about his thought. I just feel like, they're putting in the time until the season ends, and it's, how you say, like, here's pot prize for them there. Perhaps maybe it's wooden spoon, I think, is for this manager. Certainly, they're not getting a silver spoon or a golden spoon for this. As I said last week, it saddens me to see, what a beauty 99. Who has been a stalwart manager for the last few seasons and has shown great foresight, bold strikes, more than his buddy in crime, Maximum Effort. And to see the two of them languishing where they are there, they're like in Van Diemen's Land or something like that there. You think they're like two pariahs. Certainly, I don't think that What a Beauty 99 should be down at the bottom. They have tried harder than some of the other managers. I think that, they should really have considered and should be thinking about their chips. At last, throw the dice, lads. That's what I would do. Very well. And that's the roundup for this week. So we have a lot of movement going on here in Gameweek 35. Lads, I know, Eamon, you got a big discussion about Sarri KDB versus the Toboggers. Now, in my view, and maybe I'll put this out here to you guys here, to the panel here. Sarri KDB has been leading all along. Nobody has been closing a gap on him sufficiently. And as you say, there's 221 points there. I would be probably at this point saying to you and to the listeners here and to the managers, the makeup of the table as it is at this time at the end of Game Week 35. This is what we're going to be looking at when the dust settles for Game Week 38. Like, Sarri KDB is going to be in first place. And now, Eamon, I know you went off on a big, long, tangible, universal spiel about Toboggers pulling out the biggest rabbit out of a hat. But in fairness, I don't think that's going to happen there. Well, look, that's your prerogative to think about that. So I'm just putting this out there. Okay, right. Sarri KDB should be first, with Toboggers in second. There's a battle going on for third place here, and at the moment it's between Arkham Avengers and Legion 11. Lafayette Lions is coming on the outside, as they would say there, and cantering slowly. Could possibly be a three-way battle between those there. You then have Raglan fighting against Mighty Defenders. And Blightsome trying to get themselves moving out there. Ain't got a clue, Eamon, as you say, have sunk. The question here, of course, is, can we win again?
Can they get out of 10th place? I think they can. Hector?
I think they can get out. I think they get into 9th place at the very least.
Now, and then of course, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. I don't see any change with them. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I ain't no change with that. No, not unless if they're playing chips, then no, something could happen. But if they carry on playing the way they're playing at the moment, then no.
No, I don't see any change at them there. I think what you see is what you got there. As you said, maximum effort is 11th place, Bamford 12, Rosie Rovers should hold 13th, Loco John 14th, and What a Beauty 99 there. I understand, yeah, and I can see where you're coming from, saying that first and second places are pretty much filled. Nobody is going to pop up there and take that off them. I would concur with you that there is a battle for third place. I think possibly that the spoofer will hold third place because they have had the experience over the seasons with a run into these. I think they have a bench boost, have they? They have, yes. Like if they pull that out of the hat and start playing a bench boost and have a good structured team, I think they could well settle that third place spot down. Then you're talking about where Legion and Lafayette and Raglan are going to end up. Now, Mighty Defenders are still there. I wouldn't rule them out, although they did play their bench boost, and I think they played it too soon. I also think Cameroon again played their bench boost too soon. I think they should have waited for Gameweek 36, but that's their prerogative if they want to play it there. I do think Cameroon again will move out of 10th place. I think they will get 9th at the very least. Blightsome make any sort of a slip up. Cameroon again could possibly take 8th spot. I wouldn't be surprised in that. And I think what we're looking at here is, I'm going to go with this. Now, I know I spoke about toe boggers, but I'm going to go with this. Sorry, KDB is first, toe boggers is second, the spoofer is third. I think that Lafayette Lions will take 4th place. Legion will take 5th. I think that Raglan will hold 6th. The Mighty Defenders will hold 7th. I think Blightsome might hold 8th. Cameroon again will take 9th. Ian Cutterclear will take 10th. And the rest is as we said. And I think that's the final mix-up of it there. Very interesting. Would you agree with that, Hector?
I tell you something. Why you ask me this question now after game week 36? And then I will talk.
All right, okay. You're not going to play your cards too soon, are you?
And no, I want to see what happened now. I think going to be a lot of activity going on in Game Week 36. All right, okay.
Right, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we're going to wrap that up there. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time and for your comments, analysis, and words of wisdom, and putting all sorts of stuff out there. Eamon, look, that's parcel of, our analysis of the footballing. Yeah, and this is what we have to do.
Indeed we do. Well, listen, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this coming football, and I have a good couple of days and a nice weekend.
Thank you very much for that.
And the same also to yourself there, Hector. Thank you, yes, very much. And I give a big shout out to all our listeners. We listeners in California, we have listeners in Italy, in Spain, our listeners in Longford, we have listeners on Odenmore as well, over in Galway, in Cork, in Dundalk also. And give a shout out to our listeners over in England, in Germany. We have listeners over in South Africa as well. I would say, and South America as well, and Canada. So thank you very much. And all our listeners in America as well. Thank you very much.
And that's it, listeners. Once again, we have finished. So as we said, it's a big game week. It's a double game week review. We thought we'd just get this out of the way so we're ready for game week 36 when it starts. As always, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us. Thank you for subscribing to us. Thank you to all the listeners getting in touch with us, people on Twitter, Facebook, and we have the email as well there. It's in the show notes if anybody does want to drop us an email or contact us on the social media. And all that remains for me here is to wish you a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, a very good night, wherever you are in the world. We hope that you stay safe, you've enjoyed the show, and that you'll be back to listen to us next week. And until then, mind yourselves and take care.